which each person going to have about 90 seconds to say whatever you want to say. We got to start with Mike Dyson. The fact that he's going to leave when he's finished does not mean he don't care what anybody else is saying. You got to catch a plane or a boat or a train or some means of conveyance.
Right.
So, Brother Mike Dyson.
Well, I think what's important in terms of setting a covenant, a contract, an agenda, a blueprint, or a vision.
Mike, can you hold your mic?
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm saying that when we think about a blueprint or a vision or an agenda or a contract or a covenant, these are all metaphors that we're trying to get at a bigger reality. And that bigger reality is, to what degree are we willing to sacrifice for a greater good? Because the purpose of the blueprint or the agenda or the contract or the covenant is to make certain that we hold each other accountable in light of the legacy of struggle that has allowed us to achieve what we have. You see, I think that the spirit of the contract or the spirit of the covenant suggests that you and I ultimately would not allow external realities to intervene on our internal regard and love for one another. Why, after all, would we allow the same white supremacists, demagogues, who manipulated racial passion for the purpose of undermining black reality, tell me that a gay brother, lesbian sister, transgendered or bisexual person is no longer my brother, but the same white person that tells me that treats me as if I am inferior, different, or distant from them. So my black brother or sister, who because of his or her sexual orientation is now discriminated against, is marginalized in my theology, and yet in the social community in which we exist is much closer to me than the white person who wants to keep me on the outside. And the problem with so many black churches is that all you got to do is say Jesus, act like you're gonna speak in tongues, act like you high in the spirit, act like you down with the gospel of prosperity. And all you got to do is evoke Jesus' name to justify some of the most insidious, invidious, retrograde, backward thinking, funky, fundamental theology that you can imagine. When Jesus said, I'm gonna sum up the law and the prophets in this: love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul. That means you got to study the gospel. You just can't repeat it. The Lord said it, I believe it, that settles it. No, not really. You got to interrogate, ask questions of, you got to think critical. Theology is the explicit articulation on an intellectual level of the spiritual principle that motivates you to believe in the first place. Now, what that be meaning is that you've got to think critically about the strategic intervention of folk who act like they're your brothers and sisters, but trying to play hate on you at the same time. I'm not gonna allow nobody to tell me not to love nobody. Because you see, I remember a gospel preaching it as a preacher and as a pastor when I was a poor young person, and I'll explain to Brother Booker what I meant by niggerdom, right? Not what I mean by niggerdom is the artificial construction and constitution of a degraded reality that has now been absorbed into positive function as a result of self-identification. I'm a nigger. And what I mean by nigger is this degraded reality. I don't mean nigger, white supremacist rhetorical assault and terror upon the fundamental structure of humanity of black people. I'm talking about a self-chosen identification with the victims of the world. What Malcolm X called the victims of democracy. I am a victim of democracy. It's a beautiful thing. I asked Michael Jackson, when I think about what Reverend Jackson said in his brilliant declamation about the devastating impact of Michael Jackson's jury selection. But we got to get the other side straight too. Nigga, don't just wait till you in trouble to discover you a nigga. Now, right? I'm down with Michael Jackson. I grew up with Michael Jackson. I love Michael Jackson. What Reverend Jackson said is true. But we want to say to Kobe, don't just quote King, nigga. When your back is against the wall, when your contract with your own values, when you arrogantly assume that you were occupying a space other niggas didn't, then you got it caught up in the mix. What I'm saying is that I hear the gospel being preached better by Kanye West sometime. I'm saying like Kathy Lee needed Regis, that's how much I need Jesus. That's all we talk about. God walks with the pimps, the pushers, the hoes, the macs, and the hustlers too. And all of us sitting up here trying to play hate on gay folk forget about James Baldwin. Without James Baldwin, you couldn't even sit here with dignity and be able to do what you do. Without Audre Lorde or Barbara Smith, without your mama who might be gay or your daddy who might be gay. And let me end by saying this. This is why when I ultimately wrote my book, and I know you're going to see it in a minute on Bill Cosby. Is Bill Cosby right, or has the black middle class lost his mind? Because I know a whole bunch of Negroes agree with Bill. I understand that. My job is to go against the grain. That's what an intellectual does. I'm not out here for popularity. I'm here for penetrating to the husk of the matter. Sometimes that means resisting the popular mindset in order to get to the fundamental principles that inform the mindset. And I just want to say to Brother Cosby, it ain't just Shaniqua or Taliqua or Muhammad. I love them niggas. Shaliqua, Taliqua, and Muhammad. Buy my books. I asked them how to spell their name. Lisa with 2 S's and an A. Right? If we're going to put that in the contract, let's not beat down on poor people. 50 years ago, when Brown versus Board of Education came about, black folk lived in apartheid. Now we suffer from neo-apartheid. 50 to 55% of black and Latino students go to schools that are primarily black and Latino.
What time is that train?
Well, let me finish this. Hold on. This is what it means. I'm about to leave. You ain't got to worry about Dyson in a minute, but let me finish. What I'm saying, and I respect Brother Brown, what I'm saying is this. Now, 90 to 95% of some black and Latino students go to black and Latino schools that are 100% black and Latino. What does that mean? $60 million schools that Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, has told us about in the suburbs, getting at the average of $15,000 per student, while in the inner city, the post-industrial urban collapse of the Northeast being most exemplary, exhibits a student that only gets $7,000 per student. If I send you to the store with $100 in your pocket and tell you to buy something versus somebody with $1,000, you tell me who's gonna do better. You tell me who's gonna eat better. You tell me who's gonna plan better. So all I'm saying, there is a direct correlation between economic sufficiency and moral astringency. I don't mean morality in this sense, that the rich folk got the ethics and the poor folks are just ethicless. That's ridiculous to me. As I take my plane right now, I struggle on behalf of black people who don't know that I'm like them. They see me in a suit, they see I'm a yellow nigga with a suit and a tie and some curly hair, and they think I had it one way. And I let them know, I'm a guy who was living on welfare, hustling on the streets, didn't go to college till I was 21. Somebody looked at me and called me a nigga one day. The reason I embrace my niggerdom, Brother Booker, is because I understand that that is the fundamental premise of self-destruction in black people's minds. It's not the use of the word nigger, it's treating us like one another that's the problem. Then let me say this as I leave for real.
All aboard?
As I leave for real, I think it's very important then, as I often say, for us to be what? To be Trojan horses. And the Trojan horse motto to me is that we gonna get in. Tavis Smiley to me is a Trojan horse because he gets into the media. He infiltrates the media because of his keen insight, his sharp intelligence. But Tavis Smiley is gonna raise some questions that Dan Rather ain't gonna raise. Tavis Smiley gonna raise some questions that the predominant journalists will not raise. That's because he's a Trojan horse. That's because he carries the history and weight of black experience with him. And when he gets up in there, he lets all of those other experiences out. I'm carrying a whole bunch of niggas inside of me. Folk who believed in me when I wasn't nothing. Folk who believed in me when I had no money. Folk who believed in me when I didn't have no education. Mike. And now that I got it, Mike, I ain't gonna forget them. That's what I mean by niggerdom. I'm a nigger. I accept my niggerdom. And all you niggas, get down with me.
Let me have your attention because we're winding down.